Well, welcome to the first, I guess, official Zwifty After 50. I'm getting ready to take part in the stage 3. So we got to go over here and look and find stage 3, getting ready to take off here soon. There it is, group ride, starting in 1 minute, and we're going to go to France. Let's get in there. Don't want to get left. As usual, getting off to a late start. Was trying to get everything set up for the stream. Finally got that done. Now we're ready to go. Yep, I am ready to go. Let's get over there so I don't get left. Yeah. So this is the first official Zwifty After 50 video, and this is a series of videos that I'm doing to present support for Foundation, the I Do It For Foundation. So this particular ride, for instance, I'm going to be giving a report on the Ride for Larry, which was and still is an I Do It For Foundation event. So I want to give a report on that, explain what the foundation is, and then at the same time, maybe there's some other over 50 Zwifters who would like to join in with me on this experience of life after 50 on the bicycle. Hopefully this will be a little bit of an encouragement to you all. Here we go. I think this is around 14 miles, 22 kilometers. I don't know what's going to happen today because on Saturday I was on Zwift for 12 hours and my legs are pretty tired, and not only are my legs tired, but most of all my butt is sore from sitting all of that time. Thankfully, I've had many miles in the saddle, so my little built-in chamois that I have, I held up. I didn't have any blisters, so that I am thankful. Starting off here a little bit in the 300 watt range. Looks like there's around 320 some people involved, though I'm always wondering, is that larger number really people riding the entire number of people, or is that the number of people that are in the group that my particular Zwift account is measuring? Over there with my phone. Okay, I'm not going to be doing 300 watts the whole way, especially because we're climbing Ven-top, not Ven-2, Ven-top, which is the Zwift version. I'm certain once I hit that, I'm going to be going much slower. So first of all, the ride for Larry, which was a 12-hour trainer ride on Saturday, January 16th. Today is January 18th. My goal was to stay on the trainer, ride on Zwift for those 12 hours, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. The only breaks would be to take a nature break and perhaps stretch a little bit throughout the day. So the vast majority of those 12 hours, I was on the bike. I was eating on the bike, etc. Stats for the day: just under 12 hours of spinning, 193 miles, over 6,300 calories burned, and I think like 100 ounces of water consumed. So it was quite the day. But the best thing is, I was trying to raise money for the ride for Larry, and my goal for the day was $2,500. I started raising the funds a little over a month ago, or maybe even less than a month. And I had originally set a goal of $2,000, and I hit that not long after Christmas. So I decided to up it to $500, and I didn't expect much because, I'm not expecting a lot of people to be watching my YouTube videos. But a lot of Larry's friends rallied around me during the day, and we had not only good viewership for the ride on YouTube, but we raised $4,100 total. So, oh me of little faith, I had tried to, thought it was going to be a stretch to get $2,500 total, and I ended up with $4,100. So that made me excited. The after effects of all of this is, number one, I'm feeling it right now in my right leg. It's not my quads, not my calf muscles. They're just used to this. But my right hamstring and then some tendons right behind my right knee are a little sore. Feeling the hamstring right now more than I'm feeling the tendons. So I don't know what effect that's going to have on today's ride. Right now I'm actually feeling pretty good. at least with this pace in this group. Ooh, green screen going crazy on me. Oh, I'm turning orange. Let's see. Sometimes I can reset it. Well, maybe not. So you're just gonna have to put up with me. Again, was resetting my green screen and all the other aspects of the channel. And it looks like I may have made some errors in that regard. Let's see what I can do. Hey Siri, set trainer lap to 35%. That didn't help. Hey Siri, set TV lamp to 30%. Well, that helped a little bit. Okay, I think we've resolved the issue. In case you're wondering about my setup, I use hue lamps in my home. Okay, I think that's what it is. My towel is throwing everything off when I pick it up. I need to get a bunch of black towels. This towel is yellow. I think that's a mistake. Because in the darkness, it probably thinks it's green. This is interesting. Our group is starting to catch up with the group in front. So let's see, right now, I'm in 47th, 46th place. My guess is I'm going to finish in the top 175. And you say, well, why is that? You're gaining on the group in front of you, and you're at 49th, 50th. Why do you think that's going to happen? Well, I think that's going to happen because we haven't hit the climb yet. And the climbing is where I'm going to feel it. So, I may be in 50th. I may actually get ready to pick up some more spaces. But I don't think that's going to last for me. Obviously, I'm just going to keep going, see what happens. I'm going to shift over to my Zwift view so I can control the game a little better while I'm talking to you. And I want to try to show you some of the scenery around. So that's me kind of back there with the gray toupee, not toupee. No, I don't have a toupee, as you can probably see. The gray goatee. So I'm right there in front where you can see it. We're all wearing the kit, the Lacole kit. That is what everyone on this particular ride is wearing, and the people who finish events will ultimately receive that. So here we are in the group, riding along. I think that's me with the yellow, orangey yellow wheels, right by Knutson, and I actually appear to be falling back. Let's Put a little arrow boost in there. See what happens. We're on a 3% grade, so there is a little bit of climbing here. Nothing like what we're going to end up doing. We're hiding in the grass. Should be able to, I think, move up some here. Uh-oh. What did I do? Are we frozen? No. So let's come back over here to Zwift. And I should be able to use the arrows to change our view. There we go. So I am definitely falling back, especially while I'm playing around. I'm not keeping up with what's happening in front of me. But even so, probably going to stay pretty much at this pace. For the remainder of the ride. I can jump back to the view I want here, which is the following view, which is my preferred view. And we're off 6% grade. So I'm putting out about the same wattage, but I'm obviously going slower. Because it takes more watts to go faster uphill. I get my phone mount fixed here. Again, one of the downsides to getting started late. You're like, oh, you're almost halfway. You're at 13.4 kilometers. Yeah. I might be about halfway distance-wise, but definitely not halfway time-wise. I can jump up ahead. If we come over here, I can go up here to D. Whitlock, see what they're doing. Keep jumping up in Groban. So these guys are pretty far ahead of me. I'm sure there's some people already there climbing on Mont Ventoux. Oh my word. People putting out 6.0. Oh my word. Of course, I can see this guy who's doing 5.8 above Jay Cagney. I don't know if that's real because, okay, that's the first. Okay. They, at least Luchner, he's not using a smart trainer. He's on a dumb trainer. And it very well could be that he is that good and he's killing it and he is putting out 6.0 watts per kilogram. But most likely, he's on a dumb trainer that isn't calibrated very well. So he may be surprised if he ever got a smart trainer. Now, Jay Cagney, he is on a smart trainer. So I say kudos to you, bud, putting out 4.7, leaving everybody in the dust. Let's go back to me, because this is becoming discouraging. There we go. So I'm back in 63rd, putting out 298 watts, 250, basically between 250 and 300 watts. So that means I'm doing 3.5 watts per kilogram, while those guys are doing 6 watts per kilogram. So I would have to obviously go above 6 watts per kilogram to bring them back. Not going to happen. But again, that isn't why I'm here. So why am I here? Well, I try to stay healthy, and I do have a little bit of a competitive urge. So I try to manage a minimum of 800 miles a month. I mean, a week. 800 miles a week. That gives me around 4,200 miles for the year. It helps me stay in shape, keeps my weight under control, gives me a target. Okay, here we go. The real stuff is about to begin. So I do that, and then occasionally I'll jump in and do a Zwift race. But what I want to do with the Zwifty after 50 is kind of take us all on a journey where I'm going to start off with an FTP test and reset in Zwift what my FTP is according to the Zwift test. I'm not sure what my FTP is right now. My guess, based on Strava, is that it's 275, so not very high. I think currently, at least on Zwift Power, it has me set at 309 watts FTP, because back when I was putting a little more into it, that was my FTP, but it's dropped off significantly. Now I think that actually shows right now I've kind of settled in below FTP, more of just kind of a tempo. And if I were to push to my FTP, I could do that for a while, but then I would blow up, especially after Saturday, because my fatigue is very high right now. Okay, I don't know if anyone's chatting, so if you are and I haven't answered, it's because I haven't been watching the chat. I'll jump back over there. Michael, no, did I say 800 miles? No, I meant 80. If I didn't say 80, I meant 80 miles a week. Now, last year, I set a goal of 4,200 miles. And again, I'm not sitting here saying, ooh, 4,200 miles. That's a lot. Actually, I think that's not much. There are Many, many, many people doing a lot more miles than that. But that's what I gave myself to do, and I set out to do it. And I think I ended up, by the time January 1st rolled around, with around 5,400. If I was doing 800 miles a week, I don't even know how long would it take me to do that. So let's say I average 20 miles a week. I mean, 20 miles an hour. 800 miles would be, what, 40? I mean, 400 hours? No, 40 hours. It'd take me 40 hours to do 800 miles. That's a work week. No. Sometimes I wish riding my bike was work and I was getting paid to do 40 hours on the bicycle, but that isn't the way it works. Okay, I'm actually pleasantly surprised with my position at this point and also how I'm feeling. But I've done this before, and what happens is you're with the group, they leave you, then you kind of get stuck out in no man's land, and you'll have 1, 2, 3 people come by you. Then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people come by you, and then there's this huge group that catches you and goes past you. So I'm still holding to the fact that I'll probably end up in somewhere between 150 and 175 on this ride. Okay, it's definitely the towel. Nope, it's not definitely the towel. Let's see, is it the orange or is it the black? It is the black. Okay, so I'm learning something to help me with the future. Okay, looking back, I can see there appears to be a group about 17, 16 seconds back. They're doing between 2.5 and 3.4, and I'm doing about the same. So we'll either maintain this gap with those guys, or riding together, they're going to be able to catch me. But again, spinning along here, heart rate at 149, that's not bad for me. I'm talking, it's not bad for me. Maybe all those miles I did time in the saddle on Saturday helping me out a little bit. Again, I'm sorry for the green screen issues. This is an opportunity for me to test, and obviously, as the Mythbusters always said, failure is always an option. Because when you fail, you learn something that'll help you with the future. That's also true in cycling. I think it's true with your FPT test. I think I used to have a blog called lowcadence.com. It's still up there, but I'm not contributing to it anymore, at least not right now. And I think I called one of the articles the test you cannot fail. So an FTP test, you can't fail an FTP test unless you don't finish it. If you finish the FTP test, it was not a failure. You learned something. And while that number that you get for that day may not actually be an accurate measure of your ultimate ability, it does give you some insights into your current fitness at that moment. And maybe what it's telling you is you need to recover a little bit more. So the key to your FTP test is learning more what it's saying to you other than, oh, I have this FTP and my FTP is higher than yours. And I don't see it as much, but there was a period on Zwift where everybody was riding around talking about their FTP as though somehow it was something really special. But FTP is not a good comparison with other riders. It's for you. You don't use your FTP to measure yourself against other people. You use your FTP to help yourself improve. You're measuring yourself with that number. So, does it bother me that, a year ago, 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, my FTP was 309, and now it's 275? At least I think it is. No. I actually look at that and say, hey, that's a good thing, because it shows me I can improve. If I'm doing okay on this climb, and I'm going to beat my under 175 position goal, then I can train and get better and maybe move up into the 150th position. So we're not all out here racing for a contract or anything. I mean, I'm 52 years old. But I don't want to get passed by too many people. And ultimately, when I get back on the road and I'm riding with some 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds, I want them to go, dude, old man was making it hard on us. So they can drop me as long as they do it like after 20 minutes. So I can let them know I was at least there. That's the competitive side of Zwifty after 50. But mostly getting on Zwift at this point is for my health. Keep that weight under control. When I was about 38 years old, I had been off the mountain bike, which I had been doing since I think probably 28 years old, or maybe even earlier, 26. I had graduated from college, gotten married, had some time because there were no children involved, and ended up going to my local bicycle shop. And well, actually, I didn't go to the local bicycle shop. I went to Walmart and I bought a Huffy mountain bike. And I said, hey, I'm gonna ride the bike. I had been reading the magazine Mountain Bike Action and was enamored with, I think, what is it, Neil Overend, right? It's been so long. Can't believe I'm forgetting his name. But I think it's Neil Overend. And I was like, hey, he's older than I am at that point. And I know I'm starting late, but I'd like to see what I can do on the mountain bike. So I took that Huffy out and I wasn't just riding on the sidewalk. I was doing single track. And one day I was coming down, the trail doesn't exist anymore, the South Carolina Governor's School for the Arts is on the location of the single track that I used to ride on there. And there was this one part where you went off of the nice single track and it was a downhill into kind of a roundabout down at the bottom. And that roundabout is still there. It's part of the Swamp Rabbit Trail, just as you go past the Cancer Survivors Park and go under Church Street, and then you enter Falls Park. So that roundabout area there, that's where I would come down into. Well, the downhill wasn't that easy to see. There's a lot of undergrowth. So I just went bombing down there, and I didn't realize it, but some of the undergrowth was covering a large boulder. So I hit the boulder, it tacoed my front wheel, sent me over the handlebars, bent the handlebars. I ended up in that roundabout, and to this day I have scars on my hands because I was wearing gloves, but it hit right at the bottom of my gloves. So it just pulled some skin off of my wrist. So, like a true cyclist, my first thought was my bike. And I looked at it and it was just trash. So I was like, you know how it is, you're bleeding, you're shaking, I guess that means you're almost in shock maybe. But I picked up the bike and I was like, well, what am I going to do? Well, I knew there was a bicycle shop nearby where I lived. I ended up walking home, which is probably about a 3-mile walk. And then I said, well, next week I'm going to take the bike in to Sunshine Cycle Shop. And when I go in there, they're probably going to laugh at me, because by this point, I had learned that cool people do not ride Huffies. So I got off work, headed over to Sunshine, and showed them my Huffy. And I think that's when I fell in love with Sunshine Cycle Shop, because they didn't judge me. for being on the Huffy. And we're like, dude, you sent it. Way to go. So I met Mike McMillan, the owner of the shop, and back then I was doing some freelance web work, web design. So I was like, hey, we found out that I did that. It's like, would you be interested in bartering for a bike? I was like, well, sure. So I ended up doing a barter and built a Sunshine Cycle Shop website, got him a domain, all that fun stuff, and did a trade for a ProFlex 555. ProFlex 555, full suspension bike. Had that little polymer shock in the back, little sponge, and it was green. And back then, I was in the habit of naming my bicycles. So I had a decal made, and I called it the Green Monster. So I put the decal, the Green Monster, on the bike. The funny thing is, I think it was the Green Monster. Oh no, I take it back. There was another bike between the Huffy and the Green Monster. It was a Diamondback. It was a hard tail bike with a front suspension, and that was the next bike after the Huffy. The only story I have about that bike is it was large. It was like 56 cc centimeters in size, so it was pretty large. I'm about 6'1", at least I was back then, and it was definitely not a bike I could throw around, but it was okay for me. And I could fit on it okay. And I would ride it to work as well as afterwards on the trails. And when I took it to work one day, I came out and foolishly, I didn't lock it. So came out of work and my Diamondback was gone. It was a Diamondback Traverse. And my Diamondback Traverse was gone. And I was like, did I park it somewhere else on campus? Where is my Diamondback? And then I realized someone had stolen it. So I was like, oh no, now I'm gonna have to get another bike. Which, you know, in the back of your mind, you're like, I have to get another bike. I've had my eye on this other bike. So I was kind of seeing it maybe as an opportunity. But as it turns out, the guys at Sunshine called me and they said, hey, we've got your Diamondback. I was like, whoa, you're kidding me. They're like, yeah. Some kids came in, like junior high age kids, came into the shop and they were trying to sell us the bike. And we were like, is that your bike? And they're like, oh, well, yeah. And they're like, well, it's a little bit large for you guys. Oh, it's my brother's bike. But they started catching on to the fact. Okay, thank you. They caught on to the fact that Sunshine knew they had someone else's bike. So they took off running and left the bike. So I went and picked it up, and it had some scratches and stuff on it, but it was rideable. And it was around that time I started going out to ride with the guys in the shop. They would ride over at a park nearby called Paris Mountain State Park. So it was like every Tuesday night, I think it was, Tuesday or Thursday, they would head over and they would ride their mountain bikes on some fire roads there. And there were times when we kind of snuck in the back when we weren't supposed to be there. I guess there's a statute of limitations. But that was when I realized I wasn't sure I was a mountain biker, because they would just bomb downhill. Climbing, I was okay. I was good. I could do that. So I would try to catch back up with them on the hills going up, but I did not enjoy going downhill. So I thought, well, maybe it's my bike. Maybe if I had a full suspension bike, I would do better going down these hills. So that's when I decided to barter with Mike and build a website and got the Green Monster, the ProFlex 555. And guess what? It didn't make any difference. There is also a story that goes with the ProFlex. I was trying out different bikes. You know, I don't think, yeah, I was trying out different bikes, and it was the Specialized Stump Jumper. That's what I had my eyes on. And I wanted to get that bike as a barter, but it was pretty expensive. But I took it out for a test ride. And came back, and they're like, well, hey, try this ProFlex 555. I was like, okay, this is a cool looking bike, different with its polymer rear suspension and all. So yeah, I'll go out there and give it a try. So I went over to a park. It's called Timmins Park. Right now, Timmins Park is more of a disc golf place than mountain bikes. But there used to be a really cool, almost mile circle that you could ride that had downhill, single track, some climbing, steep. I loved it. And it was, I don't know, maybe a football field from my house. So I'm going to take the ProFlex out there, see how it does. So on the way, I did some jumps off some berms, and so I hit this bike. It's kind of cool. I like it. I like the way it feels. So I came bombing down the hill that goes into Timmins Park. So if you're familiar with Timmins Park, there's a road that dips down all the way down to a creek from the entry. So to the left of that road as you're coming into camp or into the park, there's a large open area that comes down to a little bridge, like a walking bridge, and you can cross it to go into the rest of the park. Well, some people who were working on the park put a large mound of mulch and I saw that large mound of mulch, and I was like, I bet I could get a lot of air off of that hill, off that mound. So I just went at it, full bore, down the hill, heading for that pile of mulch. I was like, well, I don't want to hit it right in the center because, who knows how high I'll go. So I kind of aimed off to the right, still thinking I would get some air. When I hit that mulch pile, you probably are guessing what happened. Mulch is not hard. So when my wheel hit the mulch, it just buried. And I was clipped in, and the bike just flipped. So I went over the handlebars. I didn't let go of the handlebars. My feet were still in, and I went upside down. The bike was on top of me in the air, and right at the apex of that flip, the bike let loose and went flying. I mean, I'm not kidding. It was probably 20 feet and landed. It bent the seat. It bent the handlebar. And I was fine. I just landed in the mulch. I was not hurt at all. But the Proflex was. So I took it back to Sunshine, and I was like, okay, guys, I think I know which bicycle I'm going to buy because I had already messed this one up. So before I ever owned the bike, I had had an experience with it. And you would have thought that at that point, I would have figured that I was not cut out to be a mountain biker. But believe it or not, that bike is still on the road. I sold it pretty cheap to a friend of mine. He still has it. This past weekend, he was replacing the bottom bracket. So let's see. That was probably 1994, and it's 2021. So kudos to Proflex. That bike is still out there and still rideable. And I think he replaced the polymer shock just once. So what happens is that shock gets hard and it loses its absorption. So he replaced that at least once. But that bike is still out there on the road, the Green Monster. So maybe in future stories, there's at least one more mountain bike that I have a story for, though I don't think it involves any crashes. So that's good. It also was a Proflex. Current mountain bike, which I frankly am not on very often, is a Felt 29er. I got it just in case I was going to go out and ride my mountain bike if friends wanted to go. Turns out I got my son's mountain bikes, and one of them definitely outgrew the small one that I gave him. So they've been using, we have two Felts, 29ers, different setups as far as components. And the boys, when they're riding mountain bikes, they'll do the 29ers. I just don't do it very often anymore. But that takes me back. I've been talking about this story for this long. It takes me back to the beginning of why I was telling the story. I had gotten off of the bike And my wife was like, "You are hard to live with. You weigh 180 pounds. You are miserable. You're grumpy. You need to get back on the bicycle." And that's what got me back on the bike back in maybe, oh, I don't know, it was a 19, no, I think it was in the 2000s, maybe 2005, 2004. I started getting back on the mountain bike and kind of started falling in love again with it. And then ultimately, I'll save this for a future story, ultimately that led me to road riding, where I probably have more interesting stories than the stories I had on the mountain bike, believe it or not. I'll just say it is only by God's grace that I am here on the trainer talking to you today, because I had some interesting times on the road bike. Well, where are we? Still putting out not 250 watts. I think it's probably, I've been talking. I'm also getting a little warm. Hey Siri, turn on left crosswind.
Okay, left crosswind is on.
If you're watching for the first time, the way I have it set up down here is I use Apple HomeKit, and I have 3 fans. One fan is called left crosswind. Another fan is called right crosswind. Then I have a third fan called headwind. So depending on my need for circulation of air or cooling down, I will turn on one or more of the fans. If I want to do all 3 of them, I tell Siri to start the tornado, and then they all 3 come on at the same time. So that's how it works. So if you ever hear me saying that, it's because I'm turning the fan on. Okay, 126. Still waiting for that group to come flying by. We'll see what happens. 74 revolutions per minute. That's not unusual for me. There's a reason why my blog was called lowcadence.com, and I call my man cave, where I have my Zwift set up, I call it the low cadence lair. And it's because everyone always got onto me for turning such a big gear and pushing at a lower cadence. And I've tried. I will, when I'm thinking about it, I'll get up and make myself get around 190, or not 190, to 90 to 95 RPM. But I'm most comfortable, say like if I'm doing an FTP test, between 85 and 90 RPM. And then climbing, I will resort to doing right where you see me. Though I do think I would be more efficient if I was up around 80. Matter of fact, let's see what happens. Oh no. Yeah, right in here, I should be more efficient. and it appears that I am. Actually catching up with some folks. 146 beats per minute. I'm well in a good zone. Not pushing that too hard. We got 4.6 kilometers to go. I'm definitely going to sit here at around this pace to at least 2 kilometers to go. Then I might pick it up a little bit and push maybe a little bit more with 1 kilometer to go. But right now I got to stand up. Whew. The one definite residual effect of Saturday's ride is my saddle. Whew. My butt hurts. So it feels good to stand up here. But of course, standing up on a trainer means to keep yourself up, you have to put down some power, some force. So that's why you see I'm at 66 RPM and around 300 watts. Okay, settle back in. Have my heart rate go up. See if I can get back to that 80 RPM or right around there. Picked up a few spots. Mr. Hine has dropped me a ride on from Team Experimental. Thank you, sir. My phone is still on the ground. Okay, I'm starting to think we're not riding to the top. I don't think. I think we're riding up to a little town. Can't remember the name of it. Lorraine, I think maybe. So we're probably not going to the very top of Mont Ven-top, which I'm not going to complain about. I may sign off this video and keep climbing to the top anyway, just to get some calories burned. We definitely won't be pushing it. I think T. Perkins passed me earlier. I feel like I'm on Star Trek. I'm in the little transporter. I guess that's Lyft transporting me from my basement in Greenville to France. Okay, I want to see what I can do here to maybe, while I'm climbing along, do something with well, you may see me black here. What can I do to kind of resolve some of these issues I'm having? Let's try that. What does this do? There, you got to see some of the behind the scenes. Not thrilled with that. A little on the dark side. Ooh, come over to the dark side. But at least I'm not pixelizing. Give me something more to work on when I'm not on. Ooh. 3.6 kilometers. I actually picked up some spots. So maybe the people ahead of me are the ones who went off too hard and are now starting to pay for it. So maybe I'll pick up a few more spots before the top, for the finish. So I could still blow up. So I think there are close to 400 people. So this isn't a bad finish. Oh, definitely one of the things I need to do is talk about the I Do It For Foundation. I Do It For Foundation is trying to help get people active by getting them actively involved in helping other people. So the idea, if I would put it in a marketing terms, is to help the world be a healthier world by helping the world help others. So everyone probably knows someone who is going through a trial, medically situated, perhaps someone with cancer, someone fighting COVID for that matter. And they're like, what can I do for that person? Well, one of the things you can do is show them support by getting active yourself, getting healthy yourself. Now, my guess is, if you're watching this video to this point, you're probably a Zwifter and you are interested in being healthy. You're interested in improving. So the idea is to set a goal. So if you're a runner, it might be a running mileage goal for a particular period of time. If you're a cyclist, it could be a Zwift. You know, how many hours could you spend on Zwift? How many kilometers can you collect on Zwift? And you start an I Do It For project. So let's say you're doing it for a little girl with a congenital heart defect, and her name is Susan, you would start an idoitfor.org/Susan event. So if you're a cyclist, you would say, I'm riding for Susan. And the I Do It For Foundation would help you set up a fundraising site. So in that way, you could compare it to GoFundMe. But there's a big difference between GoFundMe and I Do It For. And that difference is we're not simply raising money. Yes, there is a fundraising component, but the more important thing from I Do It For is that you are being supportive of that person. You are getting out there and you're doing something while you're raising funds. And then you tell others about what you're doing in your training. And you also let Susan know and her family know that you're doing it for her. So you record your information to Strava. You might name that Strava Riding for Susan. And then in the comments, let people know where they can go and give for Susan. And then you send a text over to Susan's family and say, hey, I ran or I rode this many miles. I was thinking about Susan. I was doing it for her. And so the family sees that you are supporting them, supporting Susan, while you are raising the money. So if we were just raising money, I would say go to GoFundMe. But if you want to join in on the mission of actively supporting someone while you're doing the fundraising, I'd invite you to come to idoitfor.org. One of the differences between I Do It For and GoFundMe is that 100% of the money that comes in goes to Susan. There's no fees that the foundation takes out of the gift. So if you raise $10,000, $10,000 goes to Susan and her family. But you'll notice right below me, there is a number, and it says funds needed $350. The reason why it says that is we are in the midst of a project. I Ride for Larry, and we've raised over $10,000 so far. Well, you can't do that without it costing something. So in full transparency, the banking fees to raise that $10,000 has cost us $350. So that's going to come out of my back pocket, which is fine if it ends up being that. But I'd love to have other people come on board if they believe in that mission as I've described it. I'd love for you to participate and give to the foundation. So you can go to idoitfor.org, and up on the menu you'll see foundation support. Click on that and give. It is a tax deductible gift. Any money given to the foundation is a tax deductible gift. Unfortunately, when you're giving money to an individual through the foundation, the IRS does not allow us to give you a tax deduction. But if you give to the expenses of the foundation itself, we can give you a tax deduction. Though I find most people aren't giving for that reason anyway. but that is something that's there. So I would invite you to help support I Do It For in that way. It would really help me. I'm not asking you to subscribe. I'm asking you to give to I Do It For Foundation. And that's what I'm up here doing. And hopefully I'll continue doing more of these, and we'll watch those numbers go down or go up, depending on how successful we are with starting new projects. That would be awesome. I'd love to be having to work really hard to raise money to cover the expenses of piles of I Do It For projects. So come on board, be a part of the I Do It For team, and get Zwifty after 50 while you're at it. Well, if you're after 50. If you're not 50 yet, get on Zwift, get outside, get on RGT, get on whatever it is that makes you get motivated, and stay active, stay healthy. That's what you should be doing. Then you can be Zwifty after 50 without having to work hard once you get there, like me. Oh, need to stand up. Saturday is starting to affect. Let's get down, lower gear. Oh, sweat everywhere. All right. $114. Maybe I'll keep that. Who knows? Maybe I was wrong. I really did expect a pile of people to come flying past me. I can't use my feather up because my phone is on the floor. And when I'm in this, OBS, I can't use my keyboard. There's obviously some issues there with my green screen. Keep it going. Maybe I can jump over there. I want to finish this out in Zwift, not on the OBS, so I can immerse myself in this. Up, up, up. 1.4 kilometers. Picking off another spot. Rabbit. There's a rabbit up there. Go after the rabbit. Well, that was T. Perkin. We're yo-yoing back and forth. Okay, Whited, coming for you. You might get me later. And I'm going to come around you now. There we go. Keep pushing. Oh, getting 11%, 14. Getting tough. Realize I've been in the big ring this whole time. But I have a 32 ring on my cassette, so big ringing it is not that big of a deal when you've got that ratio. Kilometer to go. See a bunch of guys up there, 15 seconds or more ahead. Don't think I'm going to get them, but maybe I can stay ahead of Whited and anybody else coming up behind them. I think I've kind of got a buffer because I've passed people who are currently 39 seconds behind, so they're dropping back. 0.8. Under a kilometer. Let's keep pushing. 111. Ha! I really thought I was going to be at like 170 something. I might even make 110 if I can catch this one guy. I don't know if I can. Seems to be easing up some. So, what can I do here? Let's do the feather. We should help. Maybe get up there with the feather, then pace with the group. Feather gone, but I'm around 110, I think. Oh no, still 111. Come on. Half a kilometer. Let's do it. 111. Can I do 110? 110. 19. Well, all I can say is I think I paced myself better than I thought. Probably because on Saturday I worked so hard, I figured that today I would be dying. And I'm not saying this is easy, but I wasn't expecting to be putting out over 300 watts here at the finish. There's the finish. Can I sprint? Oh, 106. Oh. Okay. Not going to complain. Well, thanks for joining me. Join me in the future. Subscribe. Whew. And you'll be notified when I'm doing a live event. Come back check out archive videos. And go to idoitfor.org. Follow the link to this foundation support and give. Help me knock off that $350. And I'll be sure to mention you on future videos. So, again, thank you very much. I'm going to catch my breath, head down to the bottom, and call it a day. But thank you for following Zwifty After 50 and the I Do It For Foundation. Love to see you start your own